Good morning, everyone. Right, well, I think we're live on Facebook. It's always fun trying to get all of this going. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes because I know we've got quite a few people interested in this morning's webinar. So if you are on either the Zoom Live or Facebook Live, if you drop me an emoji through and let me know where you are, and be really nice to say hello to you all. And then we will get going in just a couple of minutes' time.
I wanted to get to anywhere. Maybe we'll make it deep. Maybe to get away somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing else. Maybe we're always something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove. You're a fast car. I got a plan. Inside of here, I've been learning how that convenience to manage to stay still, but I'm like, wanted to drop too far. Just cross the border and into the city. You and I have a job. I see what it used to be the day.
Okie dokie. Let us get into it. Good morning. It is lovely to see you all here on either Zoom or Facebook. You'll notice I'm from a bit of a different location today. I'm not out in my office today. I'm working from my sofa, just due to a little bit of a technical issue. So if there's any little hiccups, I'm going to blame that today, but I'm sure we are going to be absolutely fine. So it's lovely to see you all here, as I said. It's a rather lovely sunny morning here today. So it's just the ideal time to get going on our money saving magic. So this is going to be all about different sorts of budgeting secrets. Now, it's not just financial budgets. We're going to cover lots of other sorts of budgeting as well, which all in the end gives us back time, gives us back energy, or gives us more energy. So in the long run, it's gonna help us save money or make some more money. So let's get into it. First up, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Harriet. I am a mum of two boys, 6.5 and coming up 2. And I have been a self-employed accountant for about over 15 years now. And I specialize in working with small businesses. Now, one of the main things that I do with all my clients is help them set up their businesses, get them all running, help them with tips and tricks and everything. And the compliance work was always a very small part of it. So I made the decision a while ago now to change away from being an accountant and actually start helping small businesses get up and running. So more focusing on the coaching, the mentoring, consulting, whatever you want to call it, just being there to help you get your businesses up and running, and all those tips and tricks that can take years to learn, just actually pass them on and help speed the process up for you. So my background is in accounts and finance, hence the reason why a lot of my stuff is around the finance side. I also do a lot of work in software, and I always focus on small businesses. So this is mainly, I work with a lot of mompreneurs. I also work with a lot of family businesses, and just the small businesses that need the support and they just want someone to talk to make sure they're on the right path. So that's me in a nutshell. So let's get into our budgets. So first up, I thought what we ought to do is actually have a think about what is a budget. Now, I know this sounds like a really simple question, but sometimes it can be a little bit more complicated than it can be perceived as more complicated than it is. Let's put it that way. So essentially, a budget is you take everything that's going in, you take out everything, and whatever's left, that's what you've got left at the end of it. And that is the most simplistic form of a budget ever. So if we're thinking about a financial budget, we're going to make a note of all the money we've got coming in. We're then going to make a note of all the fixed money we know we've got going out, and then any variable costs that we can estimate going out. And what's left is either money we've got sat in the bank or money that we've overspent. So it really, in a very simplistic term, that's what a budget is. Now, budgets aren't just about money. So we've got all sorts of different things that we can budget for. We've got our time. Time is the one commodity that we've all got a finite amount of. And, you know, it would be lovely if we could create an extra few hours in the day. And I know sometimes I would love just to actually have an extra day a week. But, you know, we can actually put some tips and tricks in place to help with our time budgeting that will give us back time, that will make our time more productive and more efficient as we're going along. So it's just going to make our lives a lot easier. Obviously, there's the financial budgeting, so we're going to have a look at that later. There's also our energy. Now, our energy is a really important thing when it comes to running a business, because there's no point trying to do things when your cup is already, you know, running on empty. So we'll have a look at our energy budgeting. We're also going to have a very quick look at budgeting for our tasks and budgeting our resources as well. But we're going to start with my favorite, which is time budgeting. Now, time budgeting is something that I love. Can't tell you how much I love it. Living with two people who are completely time blind. So my husband, awful with times. He's really bad at getting ready for things with enough time for him to get ready, forgetting that there's 4 of us in the house. My eldest has autism and ADHD. And one of the symptoms, or whatever you want to call it, that he has is he has no concept of time whatsoever. So time has always been a very important thing to me anyway, because I like being on time for things. I like knowing how long things are going to take. It's probably a little bit of a controlling thing, but you know, it's just part of my personality. So having 2 very important people in my lives who struggle with time, and obviously a 2-year-old who doesn't actually understand time yet anyway, it makes you all the more conscious of the fact that you actually have to use the time that you've got really efficiently and really well. So some of the things we can do to help with this is prioritizing our tasks. So focus on those activities that are firstly what you actually have to do that day, but also if you've got a huge list of tasks that have to be done today, get the ones that have the most impact out of the way first. So the ones that are going to tick off the list and you can get through quickly, so that you can actually make progress. It gives you that buzz. It gives you that feeling that you can actually keep on going, keep getting on, making progress, ticking things off the list. And you know, loads of us love making lists. I am a list maker. And actually that process of crossing things off the list, I do it by hand. I write it in paper, cross it off by hand. And it really is a brilliant way of just getting some time back. You get through things quicker, you have more incentive. So at the end of the day, you're benefiting both your business goals and your family goals, your family needs, so that you can actually crack on and get this stuff done. Another thing is to set boundaries. So make sure that when you're planning your diary, whether you do it daily, weekly, monthly, however you do it, make sure you actually schedule time. So schedule work time, so you know how much work you can fit in. You're not taking on more work than you've actually got time for. And also make sure you schedule dedicated family time. Now, I know this may sound really silly, but if you don't actually make the time for family, work can creep in. I've been there, I've done that. I was a great one for working away, especially when the boys were little, working away at the same time as as I was playing with them. You know, I still do it occasionally now if I'm really busy, or if I've got the boys home and I don't expect it. I can be there working away, sat on the floor with my laptop while the boys are playing or something. But I try really hard not to do that. I try very hard to maintain that balance between the two, so that when I've got my time with the boys, my time is with the boys. That also kind of links into the next one, which is delegation. Now, if there is any elements of your jobs that your business that you can actually outsource and you have the funding there to do it, then I would really recommend doing that, because it's going to give you that it's just going to free up so much time. Now, I say this from experience because I've done varying forms of outsourcing through both of my businesses, and having another person there to talk to, or to hand over those jobs that don't need my touch, they just need a human touch, is the most freeing thing ever. And it means I can then focus on the work that I'm doing. So I have the lovely Maynette, who's my PA, who's joining us today. She does a lot of the follow-ups and things on Facebook for me, and she keeps on top of my Facebook because I miss bits. But it means I then have time to do things like this. I can do these free webinars, I can do all sorts of other bits and pieces. For my accounting, I've had people come and do bookkeeping for my clients, either come and work for me, or I've actually outsourced it. So it's really essential to work out if there's anything that you can actually outsource, because in the long run, what you're paying that person, you're going to get back in more, because you can actually do the bits in the business that make the money. The next thing, which kind of leads on from the delegation, is using time management tools. Now, I love a Google Calendar. I'm a bit of a fan of Google Calendar, and I plan everything out. I have slots in my diary for when I can work, when I can't work. So William's home quite a lot, so I have to plan things around that. So I make sure everything that he's doing is in there. At the moment, you know, my youngest, George, is quite easy, but I plan everything in there. I know what I'm doing when. I know when I can book appointments in. So I actually will block a slot out saying available for appointments. But there's other time management tools you can use as well, other than just calendars. So I actually use a task planning tool. And in that, I can set how long I think a job's going to take me, and then I can use that to help me manage my time. So if I end up only having 2 hours one morning rather than the 4 that I originally had planned, I can have a look in my task app and I can work out which jobs I can actually get done that day, rather than just getting halfway through something and feeling like I've completed nothing. Another thing you can do, and this again follows on, is actually batch up your tasks. So if you've got lots of similar tasks to do, then try and get them all done in one go. I tend to do all my social media posts. If I can, I get them all done in one go at the weekend, normally when I've got peace and quiet for a couple of hours when my husband's taken the boys out. You know, they go out and play, and I just spend an hour or two doing that side of things that I need to get done. And then I know it's all ready to do for the week, and it makes it a lot quicker than me trying to do it every day. Another really important thing, which we've all got to work on, none of us are brilliant at this, and it's part of being a mum, I think, is learning that really important task of saying no. If you have something that you have to get done, you've got a deadline, and then you've got someone else coming in, keeping on asking you, please, can you come and help me? Please, can you come and help me? You've got to learn to say no. You don't have to say an outright no if you don't want to. You can say, no, I can't do it now, but I can do it, you know, X, Y, Z. But just make sure that you're actually keeping yourself at that level that you're not going to be getting into burnout, because trust me, it's not fun. You need to actually use your time wisely. So if you have to say no, just say no, and you can do it really politely, so it's not a problem. Another really important thing when you're doing your time, working on your time, is making sure you have time for self-care. if you are burnt out, running from an empty pot, whatever phrase you want to use, you're absolutely no good to anybody, including yourself. So take the time to actually do some bits for you, be it, you know, just having a bath or a shower in peace without the kids coming in my case, or just sitting and drinking a hot cup of coffee. I'm forever drinking cold cups of coffee. So a lot of the time, my self-care is I'm taking a quarter of an hour to drink a nice hot cup of coffee and read a book. And then after that, I feel recharged and ready to go. And the other thing to do is, especially when you start scheduling and using calendars and things more, is to make sure that you're actually reviewing and adjusting it, because things do change. If you have a family, you know, the kids will come home and something will have changed. There'll be an event at school. I know at the moment we've got so many different events coming up at school because of Christmas, that I feel like every day, if not every minute, I'm getting an email through saying this is happening and this is happening. And it's brilliant news. I love being able to go and do those things now, especially after having a few years of not being able to. But, you know, we do still need to make sure that we are adjusting around them, so we're not putting too much pressure on ourselves. So next, let's go on to financial budgeting. Now, obviously, this is the obvious when it comes to budgeting. But the main thing for your budgets is to create them. Now, I know that may sound like a really, really daft thing, but all the time I talk to clients, and whatever aspect I'm talking to them on, say, do you have a budget? And they go, yeah, I do. And they say, all right, can I see it? And they have a budget there, but it's, you know, it's not actually a budget. It's just, oh, this is what our profit and loss was last month. Now you need to create a detailed budget for both personal and business expenses. So being a mumpreneur, you need that extra support, that extra help because you don't know where the next lot of money is coming from. You need to make sure that you can actually, excuse me, you can actually cover all of your expenses. If you don't know what your expenses are, how do you know whether you can cover them or not? So it's really important to make sure you've got that budget for your business, and do one personally as well. Know how much money you have to take out of your business every month to cover your expenses. And at the same time as doing those, try really hard to keep your finances separate. Now, I know it's very easy to pay things out of the wrong account, use the wrong card if you're out buying stuff, but where possible, you know, keep it separate. So if you buy something on your business card that's actually personal, do a quick transfer back in so they offset on the same day. You know, do very simple little tricks and things like that that are going to keep your finances separate, and it will make your life a lot easier, and it will make tracking your budgets a lot easier as well. In both of your budgets, now I've put down here business savings, but in personal as well, you really need to make sure that you are allowing some funds on a regular basis to put away for growth, for business growth, for savings, for investment, and just to cover tax. So then you won't have such a surprise at the end of the year. So when you're doing your budgets, make sure you allow for some savings as well, both personally, and make sure you do it for your business as well. Now, make sure once you've done your budget that you cover it. You make sure you are actually monitoring that, and monitor it to your cash flow as well, to make sure that if you've got any troughs where it's going to go into the red, for whatever reason, that you are anticipating that ahead of time. You can actually then do something about it, and you can keep the financial health of your business and your home very stable if you just plan ahead and monitor things as you go. Now, if you are if you have suppliers within your business, then what you can do is set up some favorable payment terms with them. If you've been working with a supplier for a long time and you've always paid them well on time, there is no harm in asking, you know, if you can extend the terms a little bit, or you may find that you're paying them straight away and actually you don't need to pay them for 15 days or 30 days or something like that. I know a lot of small businesses pay things straight away, but because we can schedule payments in our in our banking apps, you know, make the most of that and use those payment terms to help with your cash flow. It can make a real difference, especially if you've got some months where your spending is going to be a little bit higher due to, you know, seasonal fluctuations or just, you know, needing a big job done on the building or whatever it can be. Following on from that, a very good thing to do is to make sure that you're actually comparing your prices. So, you know, we hear about it all the time for at home, you know, checking your insurance every time it's up for renewal, checking your electricity and everything. Do that every time because it can make a heap of difference. Even if you stay with the same supplier, I was with our old house, I was with our insurance company for the entire 15 years that I was living there. When we moved to our previous house, again, we were with them the entire 5 years that we were in that house before we moved here. And what I discovered over that period in time, that loyalty didn't actually matter. Actually, our price was a lot higher than it should have been. And when I rang them a couple of years ago to say, actually, you know, your price has got really high, all I'd had to do was actually ring them and say, can I have a discount? You know, what's the best deal you can do? And they knocked it down by over 100 quid. So, you know, comparing the prices and just ringing your current suppliers is really worthwhile because it can save you quite a lot of money. Next thing, and again, this is really obvious, but it's so frightening how many people don't do this, is to make sure that you've got an emergency fund. Now, I would have an emergency fund for your business and one for your home. I would keep them separate. I would keep them in an account completely separate, so it's not tempting to touch them, but that would cover, you know, a big replacement. So I personally and my husband, we've been in a situation where we had to have a boiler replaced. And we'd budgeted about £3,000 for the boiler. Turned out to be 7.5 because of living in a townhouse. Long story, but a lot more expensive than we planned. Now, because we had an emergency fund in place, we were able to get the boiler done, which was brilliant because it was in the winter and we were going to get very cold. So that was fine. But had we not had that emergency fund there, we would have been really struggling. We would have had to go and get another loan, you know, on top of our mortgage and everything like that. And nobody wants to do that when you're already stressed because there's this thing that's going wrong. Having that emergency fund there can be really beneficial. It doesn't need to be a major amount that you put away every month. Just, you know, some of these save the change things that the banks are doing is enough once you've got a sum there. So think about what you could what you might need to pay suddenly, unexpectedly, and then get some savings away for that, for both your business and personal side of things. And again, review and adjust it. A budget is a working document. It's not something you do and then leave it and, you know, wipe the dust off of it 12 months later to redo it. You need to review it on a regular basis, compare it to your actuals, see where the differences are, and actually work out what you can do to improve it. You know, is there something that you haven't accounted for? Is there something you've accounted for and actually the price has gone down? You know, in this day and age, that would be lovely. So all these different things, just make sure that you are actually reviewing it and adjust it as you go and see how you can improve it. Set yourself a little challenge each time. Okay, so next up, we will go on to energy budgeting. Now, this is your energy. I'm not talking about budgeting your household energy or your business energy. This is your personal energy. You need to make sure you work out when you are at peak efficiency. When is the best time during the day for you to work? So this morning, I was up at 5 o'clock. I was sat in front of my computer by 5:30 with George. You know, we were sat here merrily and I was working away. I had a meeting. I am very good early in the morning. I know that that is a very good time for me to do any complicated work that I've got to do. I know I'm also good once the boys have been dropped off at school for a good couple of hours. So between 9 and 11, hence the reason this is at 11 o'clock, because I had stuff that I needed to do before this. I'm not good in the evenings. I'm useless in the evenings. I'm quite happy to talk to people, but I know my brain is not there enough to do much more than that. So make sure you're identifying when works best for you. Are you a night owl? Are you a morning person? And schedule the complicated tasks and the things that you know are going to take that brain power at those times so that you can actually use that energy wisely. Now, when you're working, make sure you take regular breaks so that you can rest and recharge. Don't sit still for ages. Make sure you get up every hour and have a little move around. If you can, work standing up. I do that quite a lot. I've got one of these uppy downy desks, I call it, in my office, and very often I'll work stood up and I find myself wandering around while I'm thinking about things. And actually it really helps just getting that movement in there. Again, if there's jobs that you find very draining, try delegating them or outsourcing them, depending on if you have staff, or outsource them to someone, because that will really help free up those tasks that just drain your energy and leave you feeling really sapped. And it will give you more chance to focus on those activities that you really enjoy and the ones that are going to actually move your business forward. Now, another thing you can do is practice mindfulness and stress relief techniques, whatever works for you. I do breathing, some calming breathing exercises that really helps me. I also just go for a walk, but we'll come to that in a minute. But, it could be whatever it is that works for you. Find a technique or a process that works for you just to let you regain that inner equilibrium, and then you can get going again. Kind of related to that is your sleep routine. I always make sure that I get my sleep every night. So yes, I have 2 boys. Yes, they do get me up quite a lot during the night. So I make sure I go to bed early, but because I know I will also be up early. I'm awake whether my alarm goes off or not. So make sure that you get a constant sleep routine where possible so that you can actually benefit from really good energy levels. And get outside for a walk. Don't rely on sugar or chocolate or anything like that for an energy boost. Just get outside into the fresh air and go for a quick walk and you'll feel amazing. It really does work. I do that quite a lot myself. Even if it's just hanging the washing out. Sometimes I'll just get out and hang the washing out because that is enough, getting out in that fresh air, and it really does help. Make sure you set your boundaries. So you need to protect yourself. You need to not be working, as I said, I'm up at 5 a.m. If I was up and working at 5 a.m. and then carried on till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, I am going to burn myself out. We all need to set boundaries to protect ourselves, and make sure we also set boundaries to protect ourselves from unnecessary distractions so that we're not procrastinating and taking 10 times longer over a task than we need to. One of the best things you can do to help with that is just put your phone on do not disturb or mute or whatever it is your phone uses. I mean, I have an iPhone. At the moment, it's on do not disturb. If I'm concentrating on something or I've specifically set time aside to do a job, I will put it on do not disturb. I will even put it out of the room if I need to now, because it can be really busy, and it just means I can get on without those distractions. And last, again, you need to reflect and adjust. So if your planning for your schedule isn't working, it's leaving you absolutely knackered on certain days or every day, then look at the changes you can make, work out how you can do it to give you more energy, because when you've got that more energy, you're then going to actually get on with everything just so much better, which means you'll be more productive in your business. It really is a win-win situation, getting your energy budgets right. Next up is another favorite of mine, is the task budgeting. So as I said, I love this section of it. I'm a great one for helping people with their goals and achieving them, and doing quite a lot of, breaking things down into tasks. But once you've got those tasks, what do you do with them? So the first thing you need to do is prioritize them. Now, I do it really simply with the traffic light system. So my red tasks on each of my goals are the urgent ones. They've got to be done there and then. There's nothing else, they have to come first. I then have an amber or yellow line, and that is my tasks that need to be done but they don't necessarily have to be done today. They could be done tomorrow. And then I have my green ones, which are to do and fit in when I want to and when I need to. And I make sure that I prioritize them so that they have the biggest impact on what I'm doing. So there's no point me trying to do a pretty fun task that's at the end of a process because it's what I want to do, when I haven't actually done the meaty stuff at the beginning that I need to do in order to actually, move forward. So make sure that the tasks that you're prioritizing are the ones that are actually going to have that impact that you need and move you forward in your projects. You can also use task management tools. As I said, I use a to-do list that really helps me. When I say to-do list, it's called ClickUp, and it's a brilliant little app, and similar to Trello, but I don't know why I prefer it to Trello. But I can schedule all of my tasks in there for all of my clients. So I know where I am with everything. I can set statuses, I can set deadlines, all of these varying things that just make it easier to track what I'm doing, where I am with each job. I don't find it so difficult now, but when I had like 100 odd clients to manage and you'd get a phone call saying, what's the status of my tax return? And I'd be like, and I'd be there for a good 3 or 4 minutes trying to fill time while I got into my system and looked up their tax return. With having a very simple, task management tool, as I said, I use ClickUp. I can go in and say, oh, yes, I can see you've signed it. I just haven't submitted it yet because I'm doing a batch on Friday or whatever. So I can tell them exactly where I am with something. And it really does help, 1, with managing your tasks, but 2, with also managing your client expectations, which is really important. Excuse me. Another way of really managing your tasks is to break them down. So break down your large project into the smaller tasks. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I said about having the traffic light system. So you have your main goals. I normally have about 3 or 4 on the go at the same time. And I then break them down into different things. So you can also do it with the work you're doing for clients. So in the example of my accounting, I could have monthly bookkeeping as one and the steps underneath that I need to do to complete that. I could have payroll and again, the steps I need to do. And then I could have management accounts, knowing that I can't do the management accounts until I've done the other 2. And I can break each task down. So I know in the bookkeeping, I've got to go in and process all the sales invoices. I've got to process the bills. I've got to reconcile the bank. I've got step by step that I can do. And breaking it down seems a lot better than just saying I've got management accounts to do. And that unknown, yes, but I've got nothing done. There's nothing on the system. I've got to get everything into the system and I've got to get their payroll processed. Actually having that step-by-step process will just make everything a lot more efficient and smooth going for you. When you're setting your tasks, make sure you set deadlines for them as well. They are really helpful when you're trying to keep yourself moving forward. Now, if you're working from home, a very big challenge can be trying to move yourself forward all the time because you can get distracted by the washing, the hoovering, and everything else that you need to do. So by setting yourself deadlines for all those bite-sized tasks, you're going to help yourself move forward so much smoother that it's just going to make everything feel a lot more productive. You're going to feel like you've achieved more. And in the long run, that, as I've said the whole way through, feeling more productive makes you more productive because you're actually making progress. You're not just faffing, as I say to my boys quite a lot. It will also help you if you focus on your tasks. Again, by planning them, by setting the deadlines and everything, you're going to be focusing more. But what you can also do is when you're doing your scheduling into your calendar, put some very sort of short bursts of intense focus in there for things that you need to concentrate on so that you've actually got time set aside specifically for that, and make sure that you put a break in afterwards so that you can focus solely on that, give it 100% or 110%, whatever you want to say, and then you're going to have a break, go for a walk, have a cup of coffee, whatever it is you need to do. And once you've got the task done, go back and review them. Think, is there anything different I could have done? Especially if it's a task you're going to be doing repeatedly or a task you're going to be doing for your clients repeatedly. Just make sure that you identify areas for improvement and increased efficiency, because that will really help you and help your motivation as well. Make sure all of your tasks that you set have realistic expectations. Don't overcommit. And don't say, yes, I'm going to get that done tomorrow, when you know you don't have enough time. It's actually going to be 3 weeks' time. You know, be honest with yourself, be realistic, and make sure you're setting yourself up to win, not setting yourself up to fail. And lastly, make sure you align the tasks that you're doing with your actual goals that you're trying to achieve. You know, if your goal is to do bookkeeping, sticking with that example, and you go off and, you know, decide to, I can't think of anything complete, you know, you go off and decide to decorate the house instead. You know, you're not actually achieving your goals, because you're doing something that's nowhere near the goal that you need to do. So use your tasks and everything to make sure that you're aligning them with the business goals or the objective that you're trying to do for your clients, so that you can actually stay focused and productive. And then last but not least, we are going to look at resource budgeting. Now, resource budgeting when you are a mumpreneur it can be really tricky. There's lots of different things that you have to try and juggle. You know, not only do we have the housework, the shopping, the you know, running the kids to and from school, but if you've got young ones, you'll have childcare. You'll have childcare in the summer holidays that you've got to try and arrange. So make sure that when you're scheduling your work, you're doing it when you've actually, you know, you've got the time to focus on it, especially in the school holidays. With the Christmas holidays coming up, I know there will be 2 weeks I won't be working. I will try and get everything I can sorted beforehand, but I have both the boys home for 2 weeks. And it's lovely. We have loads of family time. We go and see family. We do all sorts, but I know I can't work. So it's getting that balance in place, so that you're actually using those childcare resources when they're available and getting the work done then, so that when you do have the children home, you can actually enjoy the time with them. If you have repetitive tasks to do, things that need to be done regularly, like a regular invoice that's the same going out every month, you know, find technology that's going to help you. If you're using accounting software, most accounting softwares will do repeating invoices, or whatever they'll call it within the system. So find all these little automatic, you know, repetitive tasks, and try and get it set so it's done a lot quicker and a lot easier, because that's going to save you time in the long run. Make sure you use any resources you have at your fingertips, whatever you want to call it. I've lost the word there, sorry, to get business support. So, you know, have a business mentor or a business coach, someone like me who's going to come in once a week, once a month. You know, you're going to have a chat with them online. They're going to give you goals and they're going to help you keep moving. Things like that is a really good way of keeping you on task and keeping you focused and moving forwards. And if you're on task and on focus and moving forwards, it's going to help with getting the money into the business, which means it helps you with the savings. As I said, all of this may seem very random when it comes to budgeting, but it does all come back to making you more productive. Another thing which is often overlooked is making sure you have your office set up right. Now, for me, working from the sofa is not the most productive of my time. If I'm out in the office, I know I'm a lot more productive. So make sure you have either an office, a room, a space, wherever it is you're working, if you're working from home, or if you have business premises, that they're set up in a way that is actually efficient for you working and is going to improve your productivity. So out in my office, when anyone sees me, they see the white window blinds behind me, but I've got a vision board up, so I can see, you know, remind myself on the tough days why I'm doing what I'm doing. I've got sayings on the wall. I've got, you know, all sorts of bits going on just to make it mine. I've got a lovely little, some fake flowers that my husband bought me for my birthday this year in there. And every time I look at them, they make me smile. All those little things can make a huge difference to your productivity. So make sure you you do that, you take the time just to set your workspace up, so it's going to actually make you feel, you know, like you want to be there and you want to get going. Another thing to do is to make sure you've got a support network, be it family and friends, or find local support groups. They are a invaluable source of information, of support, of training, everything like that, that can really help you, especially when you are working by yourself. So I am a member of several groups. I go to a coaching group in the next town over once a quarter. I've only done it once so far, and I found it the most amazing experience, to the point that I'm like, yeah, I'm going next time, and I'm sorting childcare and everything out for the boys, which is not something I would normally do. I also go to some groups for ADHD and things like that, that just give me that support that I need. I also join a lot of groups online. So I utilize like Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups. So you can make sure that you're getting the support from the people that you need, whether you can go and see them or not. Another thing with your resources is obviously your marketing. So you have all your marketing and promotional material. You need to make sure you're utilizing them in a cost efficient way. Don't just go for something because, you know, it's what you've been told to do. Actually make sure that it's going to work for you, and it's going to be that nice, productive form of marketing and promotion. So you're actually going to get the outcome from it that you want. And if something's not working, don't be afraid to say, no, that's not working, I want to try something else. So use those resources to your advantage, so you are actually going to increase your business. So next up is personal development. I am a great fan of personal development. I love learning, which probably helps, and I'm always learning different things. I'm obviously, for my accounting, I have to keep my knowledge up to date. I've recently been doing quite a bit on like coaching certifications and things, just because I wanted to actually have a qualification in it. And I'm also learning all about ADHD and autism at the moment. I'm doing official courses in those as well. I'm doing diplomas in them. So, you know, there's all these different things. And by learning all these new skills, yes, autism and ADHD, I'm doing it for my son, but I'm learning the power of communication and how to reframe things to help people understand if they're not understanding. So if there's something that you're interested in and you want to learn more about it, then do that, because at the end of the day, that's going to give you more inspiration to carry on doing what you're doing. And last, and I know I've said this a lot, and I'm just putting it in different words, but make sure you regularly look at what you're doing, review it, assess it, and make sure that you're using all of your resources, your money, your time, your energy, your task lists, everything like that. Make sure you are using them to the best of your ability. And if you put all of this into place and get yourself working really productively and comfortably and with that enjoyment and that passion, then the money saving magic just starts happening, because you start having more time available without creating more hours in the day. You use that time more efficiently, and you just become, you step more into yourself. That's a really bad phrase, but I know, I'm hoping you know what I mean. You just have that more productive, efficient time, which means when you are working on projects that are paying, you know, that you're earning money from, you're actually going to be working a lot more efficiently, a lot more effectively. You're going to do better work, and you're just going to increase your reputation. You're going to be able to increase the amount of work you do, and all sorts. Everything just leads from one to the other. And remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So make sure in all of this that you take the time to give yourself time as well, because then you will be able to just carry on and your business will just grow. Now, I'll pop my contact details up there, but obviously the best place to find me is obviously on Facebook or LinkedIn. It's been lovely having everyone join us today. And I would just like to say kind of a little teaser, and you're getting to know this before anyone else. I'm going to be doing an announcement tomorrow morning about something very exciting that's coming up. I'm not going to say what it is. I haven't even told Mainette what it is yet. She will be finding out later. So do keep an eye out for that. I will be going live at some point during the morning to announce what it is. So please do keep an eye out. And when you see what it is, hopefully you'll be very excited and want to participate. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please do just pop a message over and I will be happy to help. And I really hope you've enjoyed this webinar. Have a great rest of the day. And I look forward to hearing from you all soon.